So, you're thinking about starting a lawsuit in Ontario. Where do you even begin? Well, it all comes down to one absolutely critical document, the Statement of Claim. This isn't just some piece of paperwork. It's the document that officially fires the starting pistol on the entire legal race.
So how does a lawsuit really get started in Ontario? It's not like in the movies where you can just point a finger and say, "I'll sue you," and that's that. Nope, there's a very specific, very formal process, and we're going to walk through it right now.
Everything kicks off with the type of document called an originating process. Now that sounds super technical, I know, but all it really means is it's the official starting gun. It's the formal document that tells the court and your opponent, okay, this is real, the fight is on. And here in Ontario, the law, specifically Rule 14.02, says that most lawsuits are something called an action. That's the main event, the standard way things get done. So when people talk about a typical lawsuit, this is what they're talking about.
Okay, so if the lawsuit is called an action, how do you start one? You do it with a statement of claim. This is by far the most common starting document. It's where you, the person suing, get to formally tell your side of the story and lay out exactly what your case against the defendant is.
So to get our heads around all this, we're going to break it down into 5 key parts. We'll start at the starting line, then dig into how you actually write the thing, how you file it to make it official, how you serve it on the other person, and then what the defendant is supposed to do next.
All right, let's start at the very beginning. Why is this document so important? Well, because the statement of claim isn't just a formality. It is the legal foundation for your entire case. Seriously, everything that happens from this point on is built on what you put inside this one document.
And look, the rule itself couldn't be clearer. It says pretty much every single court case has to be started with an action. This isn't a suggestion, it's the rule. It means if you watch your day in court, this is almost always the way you have to do it. It's the main highway to justice, not some little side road.
So you're ready to write one. But hold on, you can't just scribble your complaints on a piece of paper. The court has very strict rules of the road for this, and they basically fall into 2 big categories. First, how the document looks, the formatting, and second, what it says, the content.
Let's start with the easy part, the look and feel. Rule 4 gets really specific here. You need a proper heading, double spacing, a pretty wide margin on the left, and something called a backsheet. It's honestly like following a recipe. If you leave something out, the court can just send it right back. And of course, you have to put your name and contact info right on it.
Okay, but way more important than how it looks is what you write. And this is the part that trips a lot of people up. The rules say you have to lay out the key facts of what happened, but, and this is a big but, you don't include the evidence you're going to use to prove those facts. You're telling the court what happened, not how you'll prove it. You're not showing your hand yet. And you have to be super clear about what you're asking for. No vague requests.
All right, so you've drafted the perfect document. It follows all the rules, the content is spot on. But right now, it's just a piece of paper on your desk. It's not a lawsuit yet. So how do you make it official? Well, that brings us to the next step, filing it with the court. This is where the transformation happens. It's a process called issuing. You bring your claim to the court registrar, and they do a few very important things. They date it, they sign it, and they stamp it with the official seal of the court. Then they give it a court file number, and boom, in that moment, your private document becomes an official public court proceeding. The lawsuit has now officially begun.
Okay, so the lawsuit has technically started, but there's a huge problem. The other side, the defendant, has no idea they're being sued, and that's where serving the claim comes in. The second your claim is issued by the court, a giant clock starts ticking. You are on a very strict deadline.
And that deadline is 6 months. That's it. Rule 14.08 says you have exactly half a year from the day the court issues your claim to formally deliver it, to serve it, on the defendant. If you miss that 6-month window, your entire lawsuit could be thrown out before it even gets off the ground.
And you can't just toss it in the mail and hope for the best. The rules for how you deliver it are incredibly strict. The best way, the gold standard, is called personal service. That means literally handing the document to the defendant. There are other options, of course, like leaving it with another adult where they live. But the rules are so strict for one reason, to make it impossible for the defendant to ever say, hey, I had no idea I was being sued. The court needs proof.
Okay, so you did your part. You drafted it perfectly, you filed it correctly, and you served it properly. Now the spotlight swings over to the defendant. The ball is officially in their court, and guess what? They have their own ticking clock to worry about. The defendant's deadline to file their side of the story, which is called a statement of defense, depends on where they are. If they were served right here in Ontario, they have 20 days. If they're somewhere else in Canada or in the US, that jumps to 40 days. And if they're anywhere else in the world, they get a full 60 days to respond.
And there you have it. Once your statement of claim has been drafted, issued, and served correctly and on time, the gears of the legal system are officially in motion. You've done everything right to get your foot in the courthouse door. But that, of course, leads to the next big question. Your claim is out there. What happens if they decide to fight back? Or what happens if they just ignore you and do nothing at all? Well, that's where things get really interesting.